I'm always delighted to talk to Rotary because ostensibly we start from the same value base. So that's always cool. And that's, oh, wait a minute. Sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I gave you a little card just so you'll know who I am. I've met some of you before at the Chamber Luncheon. But I always like to leave you with something, nuggets, that kind of frame what I'm going to talk to you about today. The character of leadership. Let's talk about the words I'm going to use first. ABC, apparent. Now, I just gave you an apparent. What does apparently mean? If something's apparent, it's what? Obvious. You can see it or it looks like it. Words are very apparent. We have a lot of nice words in the Constitution of the United States, do we not? We the people, justice for all, liberty and justice for all, in pursuit of life, liberty, and what? I'm just checking to see if you know the Constitution. So apparently, that's the track we're on. However, we need to dig a little deeper, and I kind of mentioned because I'm familiar with your 4 questions, and they are what? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill? And what's the last one? Beneficial. I don't know how much of that y'all say, but beneficial. Well, apparently, that's why when I first came to a Rotary Club, I went, okay, we're singing from the same. I get that. But those are really just apparent connections. Are you with me? They're there. I walk into companies a lot. I'm a corporate speaker. I also have a program for high schools, so I walk into communities, and I start looking at their schools. And, if you think about a company, when you walk into a company, you start looking at how the company's kept. I mean, literally the housekeeping. You look at the building. I mean, is there some thought into that building? Is it unique? And I will tell you, I can tell a lot about a company, apparently, from where they're going by how the building is set up, how it's arranged, how I'm greeted. I mean, lots of things at the front end. Same thing with schools. You go into a community new. What's the first thing you do if you have kids? Check the schools out. And the first thing is apparently there's an interest in schools because the schools are really usually well maintained. You have a beautiful school, Bowie High School. I mean, you look at that and you think, well, I can see my kids here. And if you drive up, like I do a lot, this corridor, there's some beautiful schools. There's some beautiful businesses. So apparently there's an interest there because where we're going to soak in money and provide these kinds of visual things or come up with slogans and logos, I'm always interested in a company's, for example, mission statement, kind of like the 4 questions, or a school's mission statement, because it tells me, and I will say this just kind of briefly because I only have 20 minutes, but I will say this, that there are places I walk in and realize there's not going to be a connection, and I just sort of don't spend a lot of time there. I don't beat my head against the brick wall, because my forehead gets tired of getting bloodied, if you get my drift. I mean, there's just no point. So all of those things, apparently, the character of the leadership of a community, the character of the leadership of a company is seen in some of these things that we apparently see. They're apparent. That's the A. That's the apparent that it's there. But oh my, we need to go to B. Is it believable? Is it believable? What makes those apparent things become believable to you? What would it be? What would make those words come alive or those buildings say what we think they say? How does it come believable? How does the leadership that's really there become believable to you? This is not a tough question. By your experience. You go into a company, for example. You buy their product. Because apparently it was the one you wanted. It was the best. You've checked out maybe, the features and benefits or whatever. So you buy that product. And then you bring it, and then you experience the customer service. And that either says, whoa, yeah, everything's in sync. Or wait a minute, whoa. Well, but the product's still good about, maybe it's still going to be the best. But then you get it home and it doesn't work or it does work. Either way, I make a believer out of you, right? When people come to our teeming shores, what do they expect? A nation based on a constitution based on Judeo-Christian principles. That has been the expectation. Now, how has that become believable? I don't know if you're like me, but I love old westerns. And I have been of late, don't ask me why, probably because I get on a track and I just kind of roll with it and dig with it. But I've been watching, through a series of circumstances, old wagon trains and gun smoke and riflemen. And I hadn't watched them in years. And, you know, I am amazed at how much more believable the America they portray through those screenwriters is than the majority of what I see a lot today. Now, not 100%. Don't go off the deep end with me here. But did you know that there's actually scripture from the Bible quoted in every rifleman, gunsmoke, and wagon train episode that I've seen? I didn't remember that. Do you remember that? Listen to their names. Seth Adams from Wagon Train. Even the naming. These screenwriters, you know, are either practicing leadership in their craft or not. And the reason I believe they are is because I see what ends up on the screen, and I happen to have an ex-student who's in Hollywood who deals with all this, and believe me, it's a scramble. So when it comes across the screen, I pay attention. Matthew Dillon, Gunsmoke, and Lucas McCain. You know, now, let's flip forward. Is it all gone? No. NCIS. What's Gibbs' first name? You know? Jethro. And there's many references there. If you listen, it's not all gone. But what I'm saying to you is, we are the people. We can say to screenwriters, we can say to Hollywood, I like this. I want more of this. Somebody is, because they're only going to put on the screen what sells. What we say is okay. I got tickled at myself. I was watching Channel 52 last Sunday night, because at 8 o'clock, Gunsmoke comes on. And I look forward to it. I do. Those are the more recent ones. Now, if you get Encore on DirecTV, you get the ones at 6 o'clock if you happen to be around. They're the black and white, but they're the early ones. They're all just great. But anyway, my point is, and all of a sudden this thing called Laredo started coming on. Well, I wrote Channel 52, and I said, whoa, it's a Gunsmoke on the screen, but I see Laredo. Where's Gunsmoke? I want my voice heard. We are the people. We are believable as Americans if we remain the people. That's what our words say. Well, that's who we are. Believable. Songs. Song lyrics. I won't go on and on, but song lyrics. I remember Lawrence Welk and Perry Como and Barbara Mandrell. That isn't the kind of lyrics we get anymore. You know? Except in some places. Apparent, believable. And I'm going to ask you a question. Let's go back to justice for all. Have we gone too far with that? I saw some disturbing things on Fox News, I guess, yesterday morning, or was it Monday, if you watch. Parents being sued by their children. Did you see that? Children were suing their parents because the mother had not given an appropriate birthday card and there was no money attached. I kid you not. Go look it up. Remember the movie several years ago about the kids suing their parents because they were getting divorced or something? I can't remember what it was. Where did that come from? Now, whoa. Yeah, we're justice for all. But haven't we kind of tripped the wire there? Are we still, we the people, grounded in core principles that we would say our children, we have riots going on in the UK, riots going on in Pennsylvania, riots going on in Wisconsin with youth, and we say, oh my gosh, what's going on? Well, let's think about it just a minute. What's believable to them? What are they attached to? Justice for all is right. But are we doing the right things related to our youth? Now, I'm really on the youth thing now. Here I go. Because as long as I live, and I figure I've got another good 20 or 30 years, maybe 40, if I really stay healthy. I mean, I have to really stay healthy. But we've got a whole America coming up that's rioting. They're in your streets almost. You just don't realize it. What do you think these flash mobs are the precursor of? What do you think's going on? Come on. Why? Well, the believable to them is, this is what I see, this is what I do, I'm seeing adults do this, I'm not sure what else I should be connected to, and that gets me to the C. See, the character of leadership has to have a connection point. Now, I'm going to give you a phrase I just learned 2 weeks ago, and I think it's so good. Listen to this. Issue identification is the key to survival. Issue identification is your opportunity to have character of leadership. Not just be a titular head of some place and be called a leader, but literally of saying, well, what do you mean? What do you mean connected? The real issue is what you're connected to. Now go to the riots for a minute. If you read any of the comments of those kids at the UK, see, I read all this stuff. They were saying things like, well, this is our chance to show those rich people. This is our chance to say we can do what we want to. And you say, well, it was mostly blacks. It was a race issue. No, it was not. Issue identification is the key to survival. The issue is, what are they connected to? Teens are going to connect to something. In their teen years, they are going to connect to something. If they don't connect to this truth, that there is a plan for their life that will prosper and not harm them and give them hope in a future, if that's not their connection point, then they're going to go with, and there was a beautiful article written by Thomas Sowell, S-O-W-E-L-L, about this whole issue. And he was saying, you know, if I think, he said, in education, politics, media, you name it, we're all not practicing the character of leadership because we're letting our kids say, if I don't get enough, I'm going to go get it from you. You know, 48%, I just heard this statistic, 48% of the United States of America, we the people, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 48% are government employees. That's never been that way. What is America but exceptionalism? Why? Because what are we supposed to, what do we say apparently we're connected to? The entrepreneurial spirit, the spirit many of you exercise every day. But when we get down to the what we're showing our kids, we're like, well, you know, just let them get through, tell them to be good, tell them not to riot. But they're getting academics crammed down their throat. Is that helping school violence? Yes or no? Have we seen a decrease in school violence? No. Let me give you a statistic that'll just, well, since the court outlawed prayer, which by the way was a tenet of what we said we were about, all through our documents, the nation has been in steady moral decline. Former Secretary of Education William Bennett revealed in his cultural indexes that between 1960 and 1990, now think about those years for a minute, 1960 and 1990, divorce doubled, teenage pregnancy went up 200%, teen suicide increased 300%, violent crime went up 500%, and he maintains that there is a strong correlation between the expulsion of prayer from our schools and decline in morality. Okay, what was apparent is no longer believable because the connection is getting broken. All right, you tell me, who can bring that connection back to our kids? And don't tell me the high school teacher. Because what's the high school teacher pressed for? Time and get those core curricula. Kids need academics. Don't mishear me. I'm an ex-high school teacher. Don't mishear me. But what I am saying is, we are the people. The community can get involved, and that's really how I got connected with Bowie. I came, some of you heard me May 2nd, talking about a program, a mentoring program, where you, 45 minutes twice a week, could go into Bowie High School. Now, hopefully 2012 will come around, and we'll decide we can work that into the schedule. That's my hope. But regardless of that, I'm going to still be out here singing this message. If we don't get our kids connected to the right thing, how can we expect changes? And it's not just the black kids, it's not just the white kids, it's not just the Asian kids. I urge you to read Thomas Sowell's article, and it's called Social Degeneration. You can get it on townhall.com. It's about the core connection. Now, he doesn't go necessarily that far with it. And I'm always amazed, I'm just amazed that money gets in the way. You have a wonderful community. And let me tell you, there was an outpouring. When I first came and started talking about this, within the first week after the presentation, there were people that ponied up money. You have leaders in this community with character. And I'm going to tell you one of them. Chris Holbach at Walmart. Don't know if you've met him. I think he's relatively new here. But I just do the ABC test. I went in, and apparently, I walked in. I've been into how many Walmarts? I mean, how many Walmarts have I been into? Oh, no idea. They've always been very helpful to us. But I walk in this Walmart was just different. It was apparent everything was orderly. Have you walked into the Walmart lately? It was very clean. It was well laid out. People were friendly. But I could tell there were seasoned employees. You know, that's always a good sign. Again, my antennas are out. I think, well, apparently, we'll see. So then I go to Believable. So I go in and actually got to talk to Chris Holbach and had a conversation. And then I went to the connection piece, because when I told him what it was there for, he said, my hand's up, we need to do this. Let me put some money your way. Connection. We were connected the same place. You see, I watched then his interactions with his employees. I've seen so much of this. Oh, I'm just so busy. You know, I get a phone call every 30 minutes. Not for Chris, this is calm. It just says, that's the job. I expect it. Don't worry about it. Excuse me. Let me hook you up with so-and-so. They're going to help you fill out this grant application. I walked out of there lifted up. That's what happens when you're in the presence of leadership with character. So I ask you a question. What does your hand go up for? I don't know what's going to come around. I don't know what the plans are going to be. But when you hear about this again, are you going to be the one that says, you know, this might be a good idea. Our kids are our future, guys. Do you want them at your front door with a gun or an egg? Or do you want them in community service so they too learn how to mentor up the next generation? We're not winning on the high school front violence-wise. We're just not. Look at the stats. You don't have to believe me, but we can. I've seen it. When we take this program in, I will guarantee you, and I will suggest to any of you, if you would like to go see a live presentation, you call me, we'll figure it out, because there's some schools using it. Watch the kids the first time they hear there's a plan for your life that will prosper and not harm you and give you hope in a future. Now, I hope you know where that connection comes from, because that's the connection that builds leaders with character, just like you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How wonderful. Thank you for those words, Sandra. Thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce next our first woman mayor of Bowie. So pleased to have you here. She served on the city council twice. This is her second time to be serving. She does